Let me ask you something. Have you ever stopped and realized that the life you're living right now, the relationships you have, the money in your bank account, the health of your body, the way you feel when you wake up in the morning, all of it is nothing more than the reflection of the thoughts you've been carrying. Most people don't get this. They think their circumstances are permanent, that life is happening to them. The truth is, life is happening through them. Every single moment, the thoughts you allow, the pictures you play in your mind, the beliefs you choose to hold, they are literally writing the script of your future. And here's the problem. Most of us are thinking on autopilot. We recycle the same doubts, the same fears, the same small-minded limitations day after day, and then we wonder why our lives don't change. But let me tell you right now, the second you take control of your thoughts, second you decide to stop letting your mind be a cage and instead use it as a weapon, that's the second your entire destiny shifts. This isn't theory. This is the raw power that separates those who merely survive from those who dominate. Because if you can transform your thoughts, you can transform your energy. If you can transform your energy, you can transform your actions. And when you transform your actions consistently, you create an unstoppable momentum that no fear, no excuse, no limitation can stand against. So I want you to lean in, really lean in, because what I'm about to share with you isn't just another motivational talk. This is a blueprint, a set of tools to help you take the thoughts that have been weakening you, turn them into pure, unstoppable power. By the time we're done, you won't just think differently. You'll feel differently, you'll act differently, and you'll know deep down that your life is no longer controlled by chance, by choice. Think about this for a moment. Every single thing that exists in your life today, every result you've produced, every success, every failure, every breakthrough, and every setback, it all began first in your mind. The mind is not just where thoughts live, it is the command center of your reality. Before the car was built, someone imagined it. Before the airplane ever touched the sky, someone had a vision of it soaring. Before the phone in your pocket existed, lived as a thought in someone's imagination. Every invention, every achievement, every transformation in human history began as an idea. So the question is, what are you doing with your ideas? What are you allowing to live in the space of your mind? The challenge for most people is they underestimate this power. They walk through life thinking their mind is just some background noise, a random stream of thoughts they don't really control. But let me tell you something. Your mind is not random. It's a weapon. It's either working for you or it's working against you. And every day you're programming it with the thoughts you allow yourself to repeat. If you're constantly telling yourself, I'm not good enough, never have enough, I'm too late, I'm too old, I'm too inexperienced, your mind isn't neutral. It listens, it obeys, it begins to build a reality that matches those thoughts. And when your reality matches those limitations, reinforces the lie and convinces you that this is all there is. That's the cycle most people live their entire lives in, and they call it fate. But it's not fate, it's programming, it's a mind left unchecked. Now imagine for a moment that instead of letting your thoughts run wild, instead of letting fear and doubt dictate the story, you became intentional. What if you started to feed your mind with empowering beliefs, with visions of possibility, certainty instead of hesitation? What if you began to design the thoughts you allow to circulate in your head? Because here's the truth, your mind doesn't care what you feed it, it will simply build based on what it's given. Feed it limitation, give you a limited life. Feed it power, it will give you a powerful life. It's that simple. But simple isn't easy because it requires awareness, discipline, and a refusal to accept mediocrity as your default state. You see, the reason so many people feel powerless is not because they lack talent or opportunity. It's because they lack control over their inner world. They've trained their brain to obsess over problems instead of possibilities, over fears instead of faith, obstacles instead of strategies, and what you focus on, you feel. If you constantly focus on what's missing, you'll feel empty. If you constantly focus on what's wrong, you'll feel stuck. If you shift that focus, if you begin to tell your mind a different story, one that says, I am capable, I am resourceful, I am relentless, and no matter what happens, I will find a way, then suddenly your body responds differently, energy rises, your decisions change, you take action you wouldn't have taken before, and that action creates results that once felt impossible. The mind is the engine, but here's the thing about engine is they only take you where you tell them to go. It doesn't argue with you. If you point it toward the edge of a cliff, it will drive straight off. If you steer it toward a destination of growth and opportunity, it will take you there just as faithfully. Your mind works the same way. The destination it creates for you is determined by the direction of your dominant thoughts. So the most important question you can ask yourself is, where am I steering my mind? Because whether you realize it or not, you are always behind the wheel. Even in the moments you claim life is just happening to you, you're the one setting the course by the way you think about it. Think of someone you admire, someone who has created a life of impact, wealth, health, or influence. Do you think they got there by accident? Do you think they were just lucky? No, they conditioned their mind to see possibility where others saw problems. They trained their focus on the outcomes they wanted, not the fears that tried to stop them. They rehearsed success in their head until it became a reality in their world. That's not magic. It's mental mastery. It's understanding that the mind will either enslave you or empower you, depending on how you train it. Let's bring it closer to home. look at your own life. Look at the patterns that keep showing up, the relationships that feel the same, the struggles that keep repeating. Those are not coincidences. They are the results of your dominant thoughts and beliefs. You attract what you are consistently thinking about, not what you casually wish for. That's why people say, I want success, but spend their days thinking, if I fail, and guess what they get? More failure, because the mind doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you focus on. So what's the shift? The shift is taking radical ownership of your inner dialogue. It's catching yourself in the act of thinking small and refusing to let that thought take root. It's replacing, I can't, with I will. It's replacing, I don't know how, with I'll figure it out. It's replacing, I don't have enough, with I'll create more. Every time you shift your thoughts, you're rewiring your mind. Every time you redirect your focus, you're taking the wheel back into your hands. And the more consistently you do this, the more natural it becomes. You begin to trust yourself again. You begin to feel the momentum. You begin to see your life expand in ways that once felt unreachable. And I want you to realize this, the gap between who you are right now and who you want to be not as big as you think. It's not 10 years away. It's not a miracle away. It's one thought away, one new belief, one decision to think differently, to train your mind, to focus on what's possible, to feed it with the vision of the life you're committed to building. That's the power of the mind. That's the power that's been sitting inside you, waiting for you to finally take it seriously. Because once you understand this, once you realize the mind is the engine of your reality, you'll stop blaming circumstances. You'll stop blaming your past. You'll stop waiting for permission. You'll finally step into the truth that you've had the power all along. If the mind is the engine of your reality, then beliefs are the fuel that powers it. The quality of your life will always mirror the quality of your beliefs. Most people don't even realize that the reason they feel stuck, the reason they settle for less, the reason they keep repeating the same struggles over and over again is because they're living inside a prison built entirely from beliefs they never chose consciously. Somewhere along the way, someone told them they weren't enough. Maybe a teacher told them they weren't smart. Maybe a parent told them they were too much or not enough. Maybe they failed at something once, and instead of saying, that was just an event, they said, this is who I am. Those moments become stories. Those stories become beliefs. Those beliefs silently dictate every decision that follows. Think about how powerful this is. If you believe you're not worthy of love, every relationship you enter will be sabotaged by that belief. If you believe you're not smart enough, you'll avoid opportunities that could grow you because deep down you already decided you'll fail. If you believe money is evil, you'll never allow yourself to create true abundance because on a subconscious level, you'll resist it. Beliefs shape not only what we see, but also what we fail to see. They filter reality. They determine what opportunities you recognize and which ones you ignore. They determine whether you fight for your dream or you give up before you start. The tragedy is that most of these beliefs aren't even true. They're illusions, lies that were handed to you by someone else or created in a moment of pain. And yet people live their whole lives obeying these lies as if they're laws of the universe. The truth is your beliefs are choices. They are decisions you made once, consciously or unconsciously, and then repeated so many times that they became automatic. But if you can choose a limiting belief, you can also choose an empowering one. If you can decide to believe you're not enough, you can just as powerfully decide that you are more than enough. And when you make that shift, everything changes. So how do you break free from limiting beliefs? The first step is awareness. You've got to catch yourself in the act. Start listening to the stories you tell yourself. Notice the words that run through your head when you're challenged, when you fail, when you're afraid. Do you hear yourself saying, I can't do this, always mess up, I'll never succeed? That's the belief speaking, not the truth. You've got to recognize it for what it is, a script that's been running your life without your permission. Once you see it, you can challenge it. You can ask yourself, is this belief serving me? Is this belief leading me to the life I want? Or is it keeping me small? The moment you ask that question with honesty, you put cracks in the foundation of that limiting belief. That's when you can replace it with something stronger. For example, instead of saying, I'm not good enough, you say, I am growing, I am capable, and every challenge is making me stronger. Instead of saying, never figure this out, you say, I may not know how yet, but I will find the way. Instead of saying, I always fail, you say, every failure is a stepping stone to my ultimate success. That shift doesn't just change your words. It changes your emotional state. It changes how you feel in your body. And when you change how you feel, you change the actions you take. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone who believes they're not a leader. Every time they're given an opportunity to step up, their belief whispers, who are you to lead anyone? You'll mess it up. So they shrink, they step back, they watch someone else take the role. And with every missed opportunity, their belief gets stronger. But imagine the same person deciding one day to believe something different. Imagine they say, I may not have led before, but I am resourceful. I can learn. I have something valuable to offer. Suddenly, when the opportunity shows up, they don't shrink. They step up. They speak. They act. And with every action, their new belief gets reinforced. That's how you build empowering truths, by deciding them, declaring them, and living them. But don't mistake this for positive thinking alone. This is not about putting a smile on your face while still living under the weight of the same old story. This is about rewiring your identity. This is about ripping out the weeds of limitation and planting seeds of power. And just like a garden, those seeds need attention. You can't just declare one new belief once and expect your life to change forever. You have to feed it daily. You have to condition it until it becomes your default. That's how you turn a fragile new belief into an unshakable truth. Some of you may say, but what if I don't believe it yet? If it feels fake when I say something empowering? That's natural. At first, your old beliefs will fight back. They've been running the show for years, but belief is built by repetition and by evidence. Start small. Start proving to yourself that your new belief is possible. If you believe you're resourceful, start noticing the times you've figured things out. If you believe you're worthy, start celebrating the moments you honored yourself, even in little ways. The brain collects evidence for whatever you focus on, so give it evidence for your new truth. Here's the most important part. You must stop confusing your past with your potential. Just because something has been true doesn't mean it must remain true. You might have struggled in the past, but that doesn't define your future. You might have been told you couldn't, but that doesn't mean you can't. The past is not a prophecy unless you keep believing the same story. The moment you shift your belief, you shift your destiny. And I'll tell you something else. When you change your beliefs, you don't just change your life, you change the lives of everyone around you. Because your energy, your courage, your decisions ripple outward. People feel it. Your family feels it. Your friends feel it. The people you lead feel it. When you choose to believe something empowering, you give permission for others to do the same. You become a living example of what's possible. So the real question is, which beliefs are you going to carry forward? Which lies are you finally going to let go of? Which truths are you going to embrace so fully that they become the foundation of everything you do? Because you cannot build a powerful life on a weak foundation. You've got to trade those limiting beliefs for empowering truths. And the second you do, you'll feel the shift. You'll feel your mind open. You'll feel your energy rise. And you'll know deep in your soul that nothing outside of you has the power to stop you anymore. Focus is one of the most powerful forces you have at your disposal. And yet most people scatter it like confetti. They let their attention get hijacked by every distraction, every notification, every fear, every doubt. And then they wonder why they feel drained, why their life isn't moving forward, why they can't seem to break through. The truth is, where focus goes, energy flows. And where energy flows, results show. If your focus is weak, your results will always be weak. But when you learn to master your focus, you unlock a level of power and clarity that most people never even experience. Your focus is like a magnifying glass. If you take the sun's rays and scatter them across the ground, nothing happens. But when you concentrate those same rays through a magnifying glass, they ignite fire. Your mind works exactly the same way. Scattered thoughts, scattered priorities, scattered energy, they don't create anything meaningful. When you channel that focus, when you put your full attention into a single outcome, you unleash a power that can move mountains. Now, here's the challenge. Your brain is wired to look for threats. It's designed for survival. That means left unchecked. It will naturally focus on what's wrong, on what's missing, on what could go wrong. That was useful thousands of years ago when survival depended on noticing danger. But today, it often sabotages you. Because if you constantly focus on problems, you'll feel overwhelmed. If you constantly focus on what's missing, you'll feel inadequate. If you constantly focus on fears, you'll paralyze yourself. And the cruel part is, you focus on those things, the bigger they become in your mind. Problems expand. Fears multiply, obstacles look insurmountable, not because they are, but because focus magnifies whatever it touches. On the other hand, you shift that focus onto solutions, onto possibilities, onto what you can control, everything changes. Suddenly your energy rises. Suddenly ideas begin to flow. Suddenly the problem that felt impossible shrinks into something manageable. That's the power of focus. It doesn't just change what you see, it changes how you feel, and it changes the actions you're willing to take. Think about any high performer, any leader, any person who has achieved greatness. Lives are not free from problems. In fact, the higher they go, the bigger the challenges they face. The difference is they don't give their energy to the problem. They give their focus to the outcome. They don't dwell on what they can't control. They double down on what they can. That's why they move forward when others freeze. That's why they create solutions when others complain. Let's make this real. Imagine two people face the exact same situation, both lose their job. Focuses on everything they lost, the paycheck, the stability, the status. They obsess over how unfair it is, how difficult life will be, how impossible it feels. Their energy collapses and they spiral downward. The other person faces the same event, but chooses to focus on something different. They focus on the opportunity to start fresh, the chance to create something better, the skills they can build, the connections they can make. That focus drives them to take action, and within months they've created a better life than the one they lost. Same situation, two different outcomes, simply because of focus. So ask yourself, what have you been focusing on? Have you been feeding your fear more than your faith? Have you been focusing on what's missing rather than what's possible? Because whatever you focus on grows. If you feed the weeds, they'll choke out the flowers. If you feed the flowers, the weeds wither away. It's the same with your mind. Another thing about focus, it's not just about what you give your attention to, but also about what you choose to ignore. You can't focus on everything. You have to decide. You have to say no to what doesn't serve you. You have to eliminate the noise. You have to protect your attention like it's the most valuable currency you own, because it is. You can always make back money, but once your time and focus are spent, they're gone forever. Most people live in a state of fracture focus. They try to do 10 things at once. They check their phone 100 times a day. They react to every interruption. And then they wonder why they're exhausted and unfulfilled. You cannot create power from that state. Power comes from depth, not from distraction. It comes from pouring yourself fully into what matters most with intensity and consistency. Think about athletes in the zone. Their focus is so sharp that everything else disappears. They're not worried about the crowd, the critics, or the scoreboard. They're locked in. That's when performance peaks. That's when breakthroughs happen. The same principle applies in your life. You give your full focus to building your vision, to mastering your craft, to improving your health, to growing your relationships. Without dilution, without distraction. You accelerate your growth in ways that feel exponential. Here's the beauty: focus is a skill. It's not something you're born with or without. It's something you train. The more you discipline your focus, the stronger it gets. Start by noticing where your attention goes. Catch yourself when your focus drifts into fear, gossip, excuses, or distractions. Interrupt that pattern and redirect it. Ask yourself, what's the outcome I want right now? What deserves my attention? Will move me closer to the life I'm committed to creating? And then lock in on that. Do it once, it feels good. Do it 100 times, it becomes habit. Do it enough times, it becomes who you are. There will always be noise. There will always be problems. There will always be things you could focus on that would drain you. But you get to choose. You get to decide whether you'll spend your life reacting or creating. You get to decide whether you'll focus on what you can't control or what you can build. That's the gateway to power. That's the difference between living a life of frustration and living a life of fulfillment. So guard your focus. Direct it with intention. Use it as the tool it was meant to be. Because when you own your focus, you own your future. If focus is the gateway to power, then emotion is the fuel that ignites it. You can have the sharpest mind in the world. You can direct your focus with precision, but if there is no emotional intensity behind it, your thoughts stay flat. They never move beyond ideas. They never translate into action. Emotion is the electricity that turns a thought into a command. It's what takes something you say you want and transforms it into something you must have, something you'll fight for, something you'll create no matter the cost. Most people underestimate the role of emotion. They think success is about logic, about strategy, about having the perfect plan. And yes, strategy matters, but strategy without emotion is dead. You've seen people with a perfect plan who never execute. You've seen people with all the information who never apply it. Why? Because they don't feel it. They don't have that internal fire that drives them to move when things get uncomfortable. Information alone never changes people. Transformation happens when emotion collides with belief and focus, creating a surge of energy that demands action. Think about a time in your life when you made a massive decision, one that changed everything. Maybe you walked away from a toxic relationship. Maybe you finally started the business. Maybe you made the commitment to take back your health. Did you make that choice because you sat down with a spreadsheet of pros and cons? Or did you make it because you felt something so strongly that you couldn't go back? It was emotion that pushed you over the edge. It was pain that said, I can't live like this anymore. Or it was passion that said, I have to go after this dream. Emotion is the ultimate catalyst for change. The problem is most people let their emotions control them instead of learning how to direct them. They let fear paralyze them. They let frustration poison them. They let doubt drain them. They wait for motivation to show up like some gift from the sky. When it doesn't, they sit back and say, I don't feel like it. But here's the truth. The emotion is not something you wait for. It's something you generate. You have the power to shift your emotional state at any moment if you decide to. Because emotion is created by what you focus on, the meaning you give it, and the way you use your body. Change those three, and you can change how you feel instantly. Let's make this practical. Imagine two people both face rejection. One says, this means I'm a failure, I'll never make it. Their focus goes to what they lost. The meaning they attach is, I'm not enough, and their body slumps. That emotional state drains them, and they stop trying. The other person faces the exact same rejection, but says, this is feedback, this is fuel, this means I'm one step closer. They focus on what they can learn. They attach the meaning that this is growth. They use their body to stand tall and keep moving. Their emotional state explodes with energy, and they double their effort. Same event, two completely different realities, all because of emotion. This is why the most successful people in the world are masters of their emotional state. They don't allow the environment to dictate how they feel. They don't wait for circumstances to give them permission to feel alive. They create it. They generate the passion, the hunger, the drive, and they use that energy to push through barriers that stop other people cold. And the beautiful thing is, you can do the same. It doesn't matter what your past has been. It doesn't matter what your current circumstances are. You can step into an empowered emotional state right now. It starts with deciding what you're going to focus on, what meaning you're going to give it, how you're going to move your body in this moment. Have you ever noticed how different your emotions feel when you change your physiology? Try being depressed while standing tall with your shoulders back, breathing deeply, and speaking with power. It's almost impossible. Your body is the fastest way to shift your emotions. That's why movement matters. That's why energy matters. That's why putting yourself in motion changes the way you think and feel. The moment you change your state, you change your life in that moment. But here's what most people miss. Emotion doesn't just fuel your thoughts in the moment. It programs your brain for the future. The stronger the emotion, the deeper the memory. That's why painful moments stick with us so vividly, and also why moments of triumph light us up for years. If you attach deep emotion to your vision of the future, your brain begins to wire it as reality. You feel the excitement of your success before it happens. When you live in the certainty of your dream as if it's already done, you're teaching your nervous system to believe it. And once it believes it, will drive your behavior until it becomes true. This is the difference between people who dabble and people who dominate. Dabblers think about what they want. They wish for it. They write it down. But their emotion is weak. There's no hunger behind it. People who dominate feel their vision in their bones. They see it, they taste it, they live it in their minds with such intensity that it becomes inevitable. And because they feel it, they move differently, they act differently, they persist when others quit. So the question is, what emotions are you fueling your thoughts with? Are you attaching fear, doubt, hesitation, or are you attaching passion, certainty, and hunger? Because the same thought with different emotions creates a completely different destiny. I want to start a business with hesitation produces procrastination. I want to start a business with unstoppable certainty produces action, learning, and ultimately success. The thought is the same, but the fuel determines whether the engine runs or stalls. And this is not about being happy all the time. Life will bring challenges, and sometimes pain is the most powerful emotion you can use. Pain can push you to break free from patterns you tolerated too long. Anger can give you the energy to finally make a change. The key is not to suppress emotions, but to use them, to harness them, to direct them toward what you want instead of letting them trap you in what you fear. So don't just think about your dreams, feel them. Don't just write down your goals. Immerse yourself in the emotions of what it will mean to achieve them. Just focus with your mind, charge it with your heart, with your body, with every fiber of your being, because when thought and emotion unite, they create power that nothing can stop. You can think all the empowering thoughts in the world. You can build the strongest beliefs. You can focus with absolute precision and fuel those thoughts with raw emotion. But if you don't take action, nothing in your life changes. Thought is potential power. Action is power realized. It's the bridge between the world in your head and the world you live in. Without action, your dreams stay locked in your imagination and potential stays buried inside you. Action is what transforms the invisible into the visible. And yet, this is where most people stop. They get caught in the trap of overthinking. They tell themselves they need more time, more information, more certainty before they move. They want the perfect plan, the perfect conditions, the perfect moment. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Waiting for everything to line up is the fastest way to guarantee nothing ever changes. The truth is, clarity doesn't come before action. It comes through action. You don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. You don't need every answer to start moving forward. The act of moving creates momentum, and momentum reveals the path. Think about it. When you first learned to walk, you didn't sit there saying, I need the perfect strategy before I take a step. No, you got up, you stumbled, and you got back up again. Every attempt built strength, coordination, and confidence. That's how you mastered walking. That's how you mastered speaking. That's how you mastered everything you can do today. Action, repetition, adjustment. Without it, you would still be crawling. The same principle applies to every goal, every dream, every transformation in your life. You want to build wealth? You've got to take the uncomfortable actions, learning, saving, investing, building. You want to create an extraordinary relationship. You've got to take the daily actions, communicating, giving, showing up fully. You want to change your body? You've got to take consistent action, moving, eating differently, pushing through resistance. It always comes down to action. Thinking about working out doesn't build muscle. Planning a diet doesn't change your health. Writing goals in a journal doesn't make them real. It's what you do, not what you intend, that shapes your destiny. But let's be real, action is not always easy. There will be fear. There will be resistance. There will be days when you don't feel like it. That's where discipline comes in. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. It's remembering that feelings are temporary, but the results of your actions last. The amazing thing is, when you act despite fear, despite resistance, you build a new identity. Every time you take action, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. You're proving to yourself that you are not your excuses, not your fear. You are bigger than both. One of the greatest lies people tell themselves is, I'll act when I feel ready. But readiness never comes. Readiness is a myth. The only way you become ready is by acting. Action builds courage. Action builds certainty. Action builds confidence. If you sit around waiting to feel ready, you'll waste your life in hesitation. But if you act, even imperfectly, you start to stack victories. Those victories fuel the belief that you can achieve even more. Let's look at this another way. Action creates evidence. You can feed yourself empowering thoughts all day, but your brain will still ask, is this true? And the only thing that convinces your brain is evidence. When you act and succeed, even in small ways, you collect evidence that reinforces your new beliefs. If you say, I'm resourceful, and then you take action to solve a problem, you've just proven it. If you say, I'm disciplined, and then you follow through on your commitment, you've just proven it. That evidence stacks up and becomes a foundation of unshakable confidence. Without action, there's no evidence. Without evidence, your beliefs remain fragile. Action also creates momentum. Have you noticed how hard it is to start when you've been stuck? How unstoppable you feel once you get moving? That's momentum. It's physics. An object at rest stays at rest. An object in motion stays in motion. The hardest step is the first one, but once you take it, every step after becomes easier. That's why you can't wait for motivation. You create motivation by acting. The more you do, the more energy you generate, the more committed you feel. And here's another truth: action is the cure for fear. Fear lives in your head. It multiplies in stillness. The longer you wait, the bigger it feels. But the moment you move, the moment you take action, the fear begins to shrink because you realize it was never as big as you thought. Most fear is just imagination turned against you. Action destroys that illusion. It replaces fear with feedback, and feedback is how you grow. Now, some of you might be thinking, but what if I fail? Let me be clear. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's the pathway to success. Nobody succeeds without failing. The only people who don't fail are the ones who don't act. Failure is just feedback. It's life telling you what doesn't work so you can adjust and try again. The faster you fail, the faster you learn, the faster you succeed. Action ensures you're always moving closer, even when it feels messy. But there's another side to this. Action must be consistent. One big action won't change your life permanently. Just like one workout won't get you fit, one good conversation won't fix a broken relationship. Consistency compounds. Little actions taken daily build unstoppable momentum. That's how power is created. That's how habits are formed. That's how identities are reshaped. Every day you act, you add a brick to the foundation of the life you're building. One day you'll look back and realize the empire you built wasn't from one giant leap, but from thousands of daily steps. Here's the part that most people never understand. Massive action is not just about quantity. It's about quality. It's about taking aligned action. Action that is driven by your vision, fueled by your emotion, and sharpened by your focus. Action without alignment leads to burnout. Aligned action leads to breakthroughs. When your thoughts, beliefs, focus, and emotions are all pointing in the same direction, the actions you take carry 10 times the force. That's when you stop pushing and start flowing. That's when results come faster than you thought possible. So if you want power in your life, don't just think, don't just believe, don't just feel. Act. Act boldly. Act consistently. Act even when it's uncomfortable. Act when it's messy. Act when it scares you, because action transforms thought into reality. It takes the dream that only you can see and makes it visible to the world. It takes potential and turns it into progress. It takes who you think you are and turns it into who you were meant to be. Power is not built in a moment. It's not created in a single breakthrough, a single bold action, or one inspiring decision. Power is forged in the fire of consistency. It's what you do day after day that determines who you become. Because in the end, your identity is not shaped by what you occasionally do, but by what you repeatedly do. One thought, one belief, one burst of action may give you a spark of change. Consistency turns that spark into a wildfire. Think about it. The strongest identities in history, the people who've changed the world, didn't become who they were because of one event. They became who they were because they showed up again and again. After the excitement faded, long after the applause stopped, long after others quit. They understood that consistency is the bridge between effort and excellence, between vision and victory. The problem is, most people underestimate the power of consistency because it feels too simple. They look for something bigger, something faster, something more dramatic. They want the life-changing moment, the lightning strike, the instant breakthrough. But the truth is, greatness is rarely born in a moment. It's built in the repetition of small, intentional actions stacked on top of each other. A single workout won't change your body, but 100 will. One act of kindness won't define your character, 1,000 will. One day of focus won't transform your career, but years of consistent effort will. Your brain learns through repetition. Every time you repeat an action, you're sending a signal to your mind, this is who I am. If you wake up early consistently, your identity becomes that of a disciplined person. If you show up consistently for your health, your identity becomes that of someone strong and resilient. If you consistently follow through on your commitments, you start to see yourself as trustworthy, dependable, unstoppable. Consistency is how you rewrite your story and become the person you've always wanted to be. Not once, not sometimes, all the time. And here's the thing, consistency doesn't have to mean massive leaps every day. It doesn't have to mean running marathons, writing entire books, or building empires overnight. Consistency is about showing up, even when you don't feel it, even when you're tired, even when progress seems invisible. Because consistency compounds. Small actions repeated daily create exponential growth over time. Think of a drop of water. Alone, it seems insignificant. Drop by drop over time, it can carve through stone. That's the power of consistency. It makes the impossible possible because it never stops moving forward. Now, let's be real. Consistency isn't glamorous. It's not exciting to get up every day and do the work when no one's watching. It's not thrilling to make the small choices, choosing water over soda, choosing the gym over the couch, choosing to study instead of scrolling. But those small choices, repeated over time, are what separate those who dream from those who achieve. The world rewards those who can stay consistent long after others have quit. And the beautiful part is, once you become consistent, you stop relying on motivation. Motivation is temporary, it comes and goes like the wind. But consistency builds discipline, and discipline becomes identity. When something is part of your identity, you don't negotiate with it anymore. You don't ask, should I? You simply do, because that's who you are. You don't brush your teeth because you're motivated. You do it because it's who you are. You don't need motivation to breathe. You just breathe. That's the level consistency can take you to. There will be days when it feels pointless, when you can't see results, when you wonder if the effort is worth it. Those are the moments that matter most. Because anyone can act when they're excited, can stay consistent when the results show up fast. But real power is built when you stay consistent without immediate reward. When you can plant seeds and water them daily, trusting that the harvest will come, you become unstoppable. Because now you're no longer living for quick wins. You're living from a place of certainty, knowing that results are inevitable if you just keep showing up. Think of the bamboo tree. For years after it's planted, nothing seems to happen. You water it, you nurture it, but for years there is no visible growth. People might even laugh at you, saying it's pointless. But underground, the roots are growing strong and deep. And then in one season, the bamboo shoots up feet in the air almost overnight. That's how consistency works. You may not see the results immediately, but beneath the surface, you're building roots. You're building strength. And when the time is right, your growth will explode in ways you never imagined. Here's what's critical. You can't dabble in consistency. You can't just show up when it's convenient, when it's comfortable, or when you feel like it. Consistency means commitment. It means setting a standard for yourself and living by it daily. It means refusing to let excuses dictate your future. And when you live this way, something incredible happens. You begin to trust yourself because consistency builds self-respect. Every time you follow through, you reinforce the belief that you can rely on you. That trust in yourself is the foundation of confidence and the essence of power. So ask yourself, what are the small actions you need to repeat daily to build the life you want? The non-negotiables that, if done consistently, will transform your identity. It might be as simple as moving your body for 30 minutes a day, reading 10 pages of a book, reaching out to one person, writing down your goals, speaking words of gratitude. They may seem small, but done consistently, they reshape everything. And don't confuse consistency with perfection. You're human. You'll stumble. You'll miss a day. Consistency isn't about never falling. It's about always getting back up. It's about refusing to let one slip turn into surrender. It's about remembering that progress is built on persistence, not perfection. Every day is another chance to show up. Every day is another chance to align with the person you're becoming. When you commit to consistency, you're no longer just creating results. You're creating an identity. You stop saying, I want to be healthy, and you start saying, I am healthy. You stop saying, I want to be disciplined, and you start saying, I am disciplined. You stop saying, I want to be powerful, and you start saying, I am power. And when that becomes your identity, no obstacle can shake you, no setback can stop you, no fear can hold you back, because it's not what you're trying to do anymore, it's who you are. So remember this, power is not built in a single moment. It's built in the moments you show up again and again, even when no one is watching, even when it's hard, even when it's thankless. Consistency is not just something you do, it's who you become. When you embody consistency, you don't just have power, you are power.